This video aims to help parents understand what elective home education involves, what responsibilities parents have, and how these fit with the role of the local authority. This recording will go through what elective home education is from slide 4. We'll look at the responsibilities for parents and what they need to consider from slide 9. We'll talk about exams and what's known as flexi-schooling from slide 18. We'll also consider the needs of children with special educational needs and disabilities and think about EHC needs assessments and pupils who already have EHC plans from slide 20. And we'll finish with considering what to do if you decide you would like to home educate your child from slide 34. For those of you watching on a computer, we've created timestamps in the description underneath this video on YouTube. If you click on the timestamp for a particular section, it will open the video at that point. This recording will refer to the following government guidance, which you can download for free if you would like to. Elective Home Education Guidance for Parents and the Elective Home Education Guidance for Local Authorities, both of which are of April 2019, and the Special Educational Needs and Disability Code of Practice of 2015. A parent or carer can choose to educate their child at home, and this is known as Elective Home Education, or EHE. This is where the parent takes direct responsibility for organising the education for their child, rather than leaving it to a school. Elective home education can work well when it's a positive choice, carefully thought through, with the child at the centre. However, it does take a lot of hard work and commitment, money, energy, and time. It must be the parent's choice. Schools must not try to persuade parents to educate their child at home by way of avoiding exclusion or because of poor attendance. Equally, if you are trying to avoid prosecution for attendance, if your child is refusing to go to school or is at risk of exclusion, electing to home educate is not necessarily the answer. If you are feeling under pressure from a setting to consider elective home education and this is not your choice, do contact the lead elective home education consultant for Suffolk, Lindsay Last, and she will be happy to talk to you so that you feel that you can make your own informed choice. Elective home education is different from teaching provided by a home tutor by the local authority. For example, this might be when a child can't attend school for health reasons, or if a child has been permanently excluded and is waiting for a new placement. In our county of Suffolk, this tuition is provided by the Alternative Tuition Service in the local authority. If your child is struggling to attend due to their health needs, including high anxiety, then you may find it helpful to watch our Sendias videos for pupils with medical needs. This section begins to look at the responsibilities for parents who choose to home educate. Elective home education is very different from the home educating which parents provided during lockdown, where schools maintained responsibility and offered some resources and contact with your child. Elective home education means taking full responsibility for your child's education, including full financial responsibility. This means you are responsible for not only what your child learns, but also for purchasing any resources like books, paper, IT equipment, and paying for any educational visits. So a parent needs to carefully consider whether they are able to provide what their child will need in home education. This includes thinking about the impact of any loss of income as a result of a parent teaching. Parents are not required to have a timetable when they home educate their child, or have set hours during which education takes place, and they're not required to follow school hours, school days, or terms. Some education might take place at the weekend or in the evening. Remember, although you don't have to follow the usual school terms, your child will still need holiday time, and if they want to spend time with their friends, they will want to match at least some of the holiday time that children at school have. The law says that parents need to make sure that the home education is suitable and full-time. But what exactly does that mean? There is no legal definition of suitable, but the government guidance says that it must suit the child's age, ability and aptitude, and any special educational needs your child may have. It should equip a child or young person for life within their community. This includes enabling them to have the same kind of choices as other 16-year-olds at the point when they finish statutory school age. So, for example, maybe your child will want to go to college when they're older. So will they be prepared and able to take the exams that they might need for a college course? The home education may not be considered suitable if the child or young person is learning in circumstances which make it very difficult to work, like, for example, a very noisy environment. And it may not be considered suitable if it leads to excessive isolation from other children and young people of the same age. In other words, if it doesn't help them develop the social skills they need in life and leaves them feeling isolated and lonely. There is also no legal definition of full-time in education. Children attending school normally have about 5 hours tuition a day for 190 days a year, which is spread over about 38 weeks. Home education does not have to mirror this, but it should involve the majority of the teaching day. So just as a general guide, this often works out at around 18 hours a week, but this can include out-of-school hour activities like a socialisation club or going to a football club. A parent is expected to be supervising and involved in their child's education. Home education would not be considered suitable, for example, if the parent went to work all day and left the child to get on with some online learning. However, a parent who needed to work part-time might choose to pay a tutor to teach their child on the days that they were at work. In families where there are two parents, sometimes they choose to share the teaching of their children with going to work in a week. Home education can be varied and flexible. A parent does not need to have a particular qualification or particular premises. They don't need to give formal lessons with detailed lesson plans. They don't have to formally assess their child's work. And they don't have to match the kind of socialisation that a child would receive in school. They don't have to teach the national curriculum or provide a broad and balanced curriculum. However, many parents do choose to do at least some of these, and many find it really helpful to be familiar with the national curriculum. Let's just think for a minute about why schools offer a broad and balanced curriculum, which teaches much more than just academic subjects. The curriculum aims to help a child develop the skills that they will need in later life, and this includes emotionally, socially, and personally. So it's important to think about how you could be supporting your child to be literate and numerate, so that they can function in society, get a job, or go to college if they would like this. This includes relating their learning to real-life contexts, for example, relating maths to how they would manage money in real-life situations. You need to think about how you would support your child to understand about healthy living, the importance of diet and exercise, understanding how our bodies work, and how to look after our mental well-being. Your child also needs to be supported to know how to make connections with others, making and maintaining friends and relationships. This includes how to maintain relationships safely over the internet. Schools would be teaching your child about internet safety, the safe use of social media, and helping them feel confident to say no when it comes to pressure from peers or people they meet online. It's also important for children and young people to be supported to build a sense of pride in their learning and in themselves. Let's just take a minute to think about your child or young person's views. Article 12 of the United Nations Convention on the Rights of the Child states that children have a right to express their views and for due weight to be given to these views. Although the decision to home educate is the parent's decision, it's important to consider whether your child will be happy to be educated in this way. Also think about how this might affect your relationship with your child and how it might affect any siblings who might be going to school while their brother or sister is home educated. If your child is aiming to take examinations, you will need to plan well in advance how your child will access the exams as an external candidate. Children may have to go to an examination centre to sit papers, and these centres might be far away from your home, perhaps 40 miles away from where you live. It is up to parents to find an examination centre, and in our county of Suffolk they are not evenly spread. Some schools may allow external candidates to access some courses and sit exams. You could look into this. Parents will have to pay the costs for exam entry. You do have the advantage of selecting the examination board whose external syllabus you feel most suits your child. If your child would normally be sitting exams in the next couple of years, do talk to school and the Elective Home Education team or our Sendia service before making the decision to take your child off roll. Children and young people educated at home are not usually registered at any school or college, but sometimes parents would like their child to receive part of their education at a school or a further education college. This is known as flexi-schooling. You can approach settings to discuss the possibility, and some might be happy to arrange this, but schools and colleges can refuse. It is their decision. When it comes to pupils with special educational needs, it's important to understand that a local authority does not receive funding to support home education. However, the SEND Code of Practice says that local authorities should work in partnership with and support parents to ensure that the special educational needs of these children are met, where the local authority already knows the children have special educational needs, or where the parents have drawn their children's special educational needs to the authority's attention. The Elective Home Education Guidance for Local Authorities states that the High Needs block of the Dedicated Schools Grant is intended to fund provision, that means support, for all relevant children and young people in the authority's area, including home-educated children, although the majority of the High Needs block will inevitably be devoted to the cost of school placements. The guidance goes on to say that direct support to the parents, if given at all, should relate only to costs incurred by parents as a result of the special needs of the child, insofar as these can reasonably be identified. We are not aware that this happens often, and it would need to be considered by the local authority on an individual basis. A parent who chooses to home educate their child can still request an Education, Health and Care, or EHC, needs assessment. This is an information gathering process to identify all the needs which are making it hard for your child to learn, including health and social care needs. It also identifies the kind of support which would help address these needs. So if you are educating a child at home already, and come to believe that he or she has special educational needs which are making it difficult for your child to learn, or you don't understand what the barriers are, you can ask the local authority to carry out this statutory EHC assessment or a reassessment of your child's special educational needs, and they must consider the request within the same statutory timescales and in the same way as for all other such requests. Perhaps your child or young person already has an Education, Health and Care, or EHC, plan. If the local authority names a school or another setting in the EHC plan, but you choose to home educate instead, the local authority has no duty to provide education for your child. This means they do not have to provide the special educational provision or support in Section F of the EHC plan, as long as they believe that the arrangements you make are suitable. It's important to remember that any support which educates or trains your child is regarded as special educational provision under the law and will be in Section F of an EHC plan, and therefore the local authority would have no duty to provide this. Speech and language therapy must always be in Section F, and this section can include any other health therapy which educates or trains your child. This might include some occupational therapy, for example. The local authority still has the responsibility for maintaining the EHC plan when you home educate, for example, for carrying out annual reviews. When it comes to health, the Health Commissioning Body remain responsible for any other healthcare provision in an EHC plan. In other words, any other health support which doesn't educate or train your child. This would be in Section G of an EHC plan. However, if you home educate, you can make your own alternative arrangements for health provision if you would prefer this. If your child has an EHC plan and you feel that the current educational placement is not working, it may be better to seek to amend the plan, to set out different special educational provision or support in Section F, and or to name a different school in Section I rather than attempting to take on home education without support. For example, this might be through an annual or early review. Do contact our Sendias service if you're unclear about this. So why might a parent choose to home educate their child? Sometimes they choose to home educate for religious, cultural or ideological beliefs, or maybe because of distance from a local school. Sometimes it is because of dissatisfaction with the overall school system. Some parents choose to home educate because they feel the special educational needs of their child or bullying issues are not being addressed. And sometimes it is due to health reasons, particularly considerations about their child's mental health and well-being. Sometimes parents tell our service that their child finds it hard to cope in a school environment on a sensory level or due to anxiety, and they tell us that this is reduced at home, leading parents to consider home education. If your child is able to express themselves, can they share what has made them feel less anxious when they're at home? It may be that you could share this with school, working together to help you all to support your child to reintegrate successfully. Remember that all nurseries, schools and colleges must use their best endeavours to make sure that a child with special educational needs gets the support they need. This means doing everything they can to meet children and young people's SEN. And if a SEN support plan isn't working, the law expects settings to then seek specialist advice as a next step. And there are a number of services in Suffolk to support schools to support pupils who are struggling with their learning. Many children with special educational needs might also be disabled according to the Equality Act, and all nurseries, schools and colleges have further equality duties, including the duty to make reasonable adjustments to ensure that disabled children and young people are not at a substantial disadvantage compared to their peers. Do visit our Suffolk Sendias website and YouTube channel for further information around the process of SEN support in schools and how inclusion works, and also to find out more about equal opportunities for disabled pupils. If a school or college has done all it can to support your child, including accessing specialist advice, and your child is still struggling, or maybe a placement is in danger of breaking down, it might be helpful to request an Education, Health and Care or EHC needs assessment at this point. This is an opportunity to fully identify all of the child or young person's needs and work out what support they need to access education. It may be that with the right support, your child or young person can continue in their educational placement. Alternatively, your child or young person may need special educational provision which could be provided other than at school, in an alternative placement. We have lots of information and videos about the EHC process on our Suffolk Sendias website and YouTube channel, which you might find helpful. This next section will focus on what you need to do if you decide that you would like to home educate your child. If you decide to home educate, you should write to the school that your child currently attends. If your child attends a mainstream school, your child will be removed from the register and the school must inform the local authority. In Suffolk, a home education consultant in the local authority will contact you to check you've made plans and provide some information to get you started. If your child has not yet started school, you don't have to tell anyone, but the government recommends that you do let the local authority know. If your child is currently attending a special school or attending a school as part of a school attendance order, you will need to get permission from the local authority before your child can be removed from the school register. If you remove your child from school, you can change your mind later if things don't work out quite as you planned. You can apply for a school place again. Remember though, there is no guarantee that a place would still be available at that school. An application would have to be made in the usual way through the local authority's process for in-year admissions. When it comes to the responsibility of the local authority, they have a duty to find out if someone is not receiving a suitable education. They also have a general duty to make arrangements to safeguard and promote the welfare of children regarding their education. So, if they become aware that you are home educating, they can make some informal inquiries just to establish what kind of education your child is receiving. But there is no duty for a local authority to monitor the quality of home education on a routine basis. So let's just summarise a few key points to consider if you're thinking about home educating your child. Reflect on why you are thinking of home educating and consider what your child thinks. Do you have the time, resources including financial resources and the ability to teach your child? Is your home suitable for teaching and learning? So think about the noise, space and general environment. Do you have support from others? What would happen, for example, if you were ill and unable to teach your child for a while? Can you provide the social and cultural experiences and physical exercise your child needs to help them develop? And can you help them to keep themselves safe, including online? And finally, can you support your child to have the same opportunities as they get older as their peers would have when they finish school? Remember that the Elective Home Education team in Suffolk is there to help you, so do contact them if you have further questions. And there is more information on our Sendias website in Suffolk and on the Suffolk Local Offer Elective Home Education web pages. This includes answers to frequently asked questions which you might find helpful.